Hi. So today I'm going to throw it back to my childhood and I'm going to play Spiderwebs by No Doubt because that is one of the songs that was really prominent at the time that I was starting to find artists and songs that I liked for myself because I was still pretty young when it came out. I also really love the Tragic Kingdom album overall because I find that that album is a perfect example of turning the pain into champagne because a lot of it was written about a breakup between two of the band members who still decided to work together to pursue music. And ultimately, it turned out to be a great decision for them because they became super successful. And it started with that album. And I just think that that's really, really cool. And the relationship that they've built over the years has been really awesome to see. Also, I don't really have a style, but if I had to describe my style in any way, shape, or form, Gwen Stefani in the Tragic Kingdom era of No Doubt, particularly from the Spiderwebs music video, like I really do think that this is where my love of plaid pants has come from. So it's only got four chords. It's B flat, F, G minor, and E flat. The progressions are fairly easy, but there are a couple spots where it moves really, really quick. So I've done it a couple times without the music, and I've done it a couple times kind of doing it with the words. So now I'm going to try it with the music and see how that goes. I'm not really sure because the way that the intro is done, and then there's an instrumental in here too, it's only showing as like four or five notes. However, it's more than that when I listen to the song. Also, I don't know if stereo piano is the right tone for this, but I can't figure out a piano tone that suits this song very well. What I should do is try it in like a steel drum or like a trumpet or something, but today I'm just going to keep it keyboard. So, gonna give it a go. Just try it out. Come along for the ride. I'm also not quite sure where to start the intro. Tragic Kingdom is one of the best albums to come out of the 90s. To this day, it's still my favorite body of work from No Doubt. To me, they were able to strike the perfect balance between the ska sound they started with and the more mainstream rock pop style they were transitioning into. I love a good brass section moment and hints of big band, and this album has that. This song specifically has that too. Sometimes it can be such a trip revisiting old music. The world has evolved so much since this album was released in 1995. The music video features a bunch of landline phones, the ones with the extra long cords so you could walk around a bit while you had a conversation. It also references screening phone calls, and this would have been before caller ID was even a thing. The days when you'd let someone else answer or let it go to voicemail. The world now is so much more convenient than it used to be. But even I find myself watching old movies going, why don't you just use your cell phone? Remembering that they wouldn't have one. That wasn't too bad, and that was a lot of fun to play. And I'm moving much slower because I'm used to songs being much slower. So this is good. This is good. We're gonna run it back. Oh, okay. No, we're gonna run it back again because now I waited too long on that. Apparently, this song was written by Gwen Stefani about a stalker situation she had. I guess he would hang around and try to read her poetry and call to try to get her attention. Apparently, she didn't really like the poetry, so she wrote this to get him to stop. I'm glad it seemed to work for her because I have not had the same success, and I don't like mine's poetry either. Mine also have internet ambiguity, access to content, and tools to alter it. Oh, okay, I was doing good till the end, so we'll run it back. Which wouldn't be so bad, except the false narratives that can be formed without context, and lies are more believable than the truth because everything is about image, trends, and keeping up appearances. People that aren't as concerned with that don't put up as much of a fight to defend it. In some cases. I personally miss the days when being hacked regularly wasn't a thing and I felt like I had some level of privacy. I've just come to terms with my life is like the Truman Show. And I don't know, maybe it's because I watch sports a lot and it's kind of like the Super Bowl. But when the cameras are rolling, do you like fold under pressure? Or do you shine like the star that you are? You can be scared or you can take the opportunity to give the performance of a lifetime. It also wasn't as easy to get famous back in the 90s. You really had to grind, especially because things weren't as convenient. Those strictly after clout usually didn't have the metal for it unless they had an advantage of some sort, or an in or contact somewhere. Maybe that's why the quests of power all seem so ruthless now. Force is used to bypass having to pay the dues, or in some cases, covers what hasn't been earned on merit and was taken by force to begin with. We're at a point in time where many can recognize that force isn't always loud or physical. In 2025, that can also mean being entirely ensnared in a web of lies that someone else spun. I'm looking in the spiderwebs. You message and I'll call you back. And let's be clear that I don't mean minor inconveniences or honest mistakes or things that weren't ill intended. I'm talking about the things that are really maliciously intended to abuse someone mentally. I feel like that is the best one yet because I did the least amount of singing. It This song is really really fun to play. So we're going to run it back again. I'm still working on the intro and the instrumental, but I'm getting the hang of it a lot better. So we're going to do it a couple more times and come along for the ride. There's such a concerning incline in psychological abuse, which has further reach and impact in the era of social media. Even though this song, Spiderwebs, is more about wanting to be left alone and not wanting to be stalked, which should really be a fair request, it got me thinking about a couple other things. I kept coming back to being tangled in the webs we weave and the lies we believe. The lengths people will go to in an effort to keep another ensnared in their traps of accountability avoidance. How instead of acknowledging mistakes, it turns into a pretty grotesque web of lies. That's why it's important to A, tell the truth, and B, own your decisions. You don't just get to do it and then pin the consequences on someone else because you don't want to deal with it or because you thought you'd get away with it. That's not fair to the person that's actually been telling the truth and trying to live right. What I found to be incredibly alarming is how easy it is for the lies to be accepted and the truth to be ignored, even when the truth is very apparent. Even worse, if in the beginning the whole thing gets started by someone truly trying to hurt someone else to cover up something that they did, and being perpetuated by enablers for entertainment and status quo purposes. And what happens when you're the converging point of multiple of them? Oh, I messed that up. It's literally the same bar 15 times to end the song because the chorus repeats like 3 times. So I really shouldn't have messed that up at this point. The only thing that's different are the verses. Alright, that was alright, but I'm gonna run it back, try it again with less singing. especially if you have historically displayed traits within a certain cluster of personality type. Vulnerable, easy prey with likely no way out. Not likely to be believed and not likely to have a good support system. Basically, a playground for them. What are you supposed to do? Just sit and allow a predator to ruin your life day by day, year after year, until you're gone or you're insane? If you ask me, trying to psychologically torture someone for long periods of time with the intent to do that kind of damage should be more of a criminal offense. You shouldn't have to feel like your life's at risk for not wanting to be a troll, especially in the digital age where that's so common, particularly with sextortion. I really think old laws need to be updated to reflect new age challenges. Lies can spread online at incredible speed. Anyone wanting to look virtuous for a cause can be sucked into a mob based on a faulty foundation. If a mob gets twisted up in their collective delusion that they attack someone innocent, the blind following from each individual often results in shared repercussions. I mean, typically not in my situation, but maybe more so for people who are less polarizing. The pendulum of repercussions seems to only swing one way over here. But if it's not just a me thing, then I guess it's like a bigger problem. Intruding on what's mine, and you're taking up my time. Don't have the courage inside me to tell me, please let me be. Communication, telephonic invasion. They think I'm planning my escape. Unlikely story, but leave a message and I'll call you back. Further to that, if a mob of trolls becomes so large or so obsessed, anyone who does try to disengage or decide that they no longer want to participate becomes another victim. Now it's gone too deep. You wake me in my sleep. Dreams become nightmares, 'cause you're ringing in my ears. Or they get trapped. It's a vicious cycle and often allowed to continue until it's too late. In a smear campaign situation where someone tries to completely destroy every aspect of your independent life for their personal gain and ego strokes is largely rooted in lies, both of falsehoods and omissions. Things can get out of control real quick, and innocent bystanders tend to get roped in under these false pretenses, thinking that they're working towards something really good, or that they're being helpful in some way. Well, what happens when the lie shatters, though? When a large number of people have to reckon with their conscience and still be able to look themselves in the mirror. If it's the target that shows them their own reflection, things have a habit of intensifying. From my experience, it creates an unnecessarily volatile situation because of the air of desperation. The more repetitive the need to try to prove something that has been repeatedly proven false, the more insane the whole situation just becomes. Again, I often find this to be like what I was talking about in the previous episode about generational trauma impacting how we interpret others and how we're interpreted. Because I was singing. Okay, well, just an excuse to start it over again, I guess. Sometimes we see what we want to see, follow what is easy and simple, but aren't those considered lies that we tell ourselves? Because nothing that is ever truly worth it comes easy. And maybe that's just my perspective because I find it near impossible not to ask questions, which usually involves listening to all perspectives objectively to be able to make the most informed decisions and find the best solution forward. Like I said, though, not everyone is willing to look at things they don't want to see. I personally believe that's how we end up in such toxic cycles. I feel like I'm not fully hitting the G with this finger sometimes. And now I just, like, missed my cue. Okay. Excuse to start again. I should have let that part play out just so I could sing it, though. I also think it's a contributor to how lies breed and why it can be so hard for the truth to be acknowledged. I read a quote that says it takes one lie to be believed, but it takes endless proof for the truth to be believed, and that really feels like it tracks. But I feel like it wouldn't be the case if there wasn't full force jumping into believing the lies, which has become quite common in the age of cancel culture, where fates can be at stake with manipulated, out of context, or shit edits of content. You may not know you're believing a lie because you're seeing it, so that should be the proof, right? But that's no longer as reliable as it used to be, which is why I think it would benefit us as a society if we asked more questions for clarity before we jump and pick a side. Also, maybe if we stayed focused on picking a side on each particular issue at hand rather than making everything about politics and religion all the time, I think we would be much better off. We are very much able to coexist, and I think it would be easier to do if we could unite in truth. Again, rather than focus on the things that divide us, but that's just my personal opinion. It's unfortunate that truth tellers often get labeled as the villain. This can go even further than necessary if there's a person who's being mobbed that tries to choose peace and doesn't spend all their time and energy trying to prove anyone wrong and just tries to be left alone to do their own thing. Something that I've found to be interesting through the whole smear campaign thing was the insinuation that I was a coward. I'm not the most brave or courageous. What I do feel confident in is saying that there is a difference between safety and peace versus hiding. I would go even further to say that it's even more cowardly to try to ruin someone's life over a lie in an effort not to face your own truth. No one can say I haven't tried to face everything thrown at me head on, or that I haven't tried to own up to, grow, and learn from past mistakes and shortcomings. Regardless of what anybody thinks of me or what they have to say, at the end of the day, I can only operate in my truth in a way where I can sleep at night knowing that I've stuck true to my integrity, even if my next date's with the Reaper. Never ran, haven't left, because every day is a gift and you've got to appreciate what you've got while you've got it. The webs seem to weave around me at light rail speed. You can reflect and pray to God, or you can feel like prey. I chose God. Okay. I think that was pretty good. I'm excited with how that turned out. That's really fun to play. It's just different progressions of the same set of notes. But I definitely had a lot of fun playing it. But I do need to give it up for the night because this finger here has, like, I want to say lockjaw, but it's not lockjaw because it's a finger. So I can't seem to hit the one note. Like, I can't seem to hit the G for the G minor very well right now with my hand. So I'm just going to call it a night. Again, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It is good for beginners, but it's fast. So as long as you're working on your progressions, it's a really good song to work on your progressions with. So thanks for kicking it old school with me today. Until next time, keep the peace and keep rocking on.